Hello and welcome. I've been asked to talk about anatomy, something I'm actually pretty good at. I have Clip Studio Paint EX here. It's also known as Manga Studio 5. It's a great program. It can help you a lot in this field of anatomy. So I wanted to show you some of the things that it can do. It has all these wonderful materials that you can use. But one of the best materials I find is you can do a drawing doll. So let's do a male drawing doll, for example. Let's just drag it over on here. Okay, so you've got this drawing doll, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. The great thing is that it behaves fairly naturally, which is nice. You can just grab parts of it and do something like that. You can also do different poses. So if you have like an entire body pose that you want to do, you can basically just drag it on and see a basic standing, or have a cutesy standing, or just a different pose like that. So we have a variety of different poses that we can actually look at. So let's say this one with erasing a blackboard. It's a good flexy sort of pose. One of the things that I feel is really important to note is that with any sort of anatomy study, you want to be sure to have a working knowledge of what the body looks like. And what the body looks like comes from bodily proportions. So you're seeing all of these 3D models. You're seeing all of these things from a straight-on perspective in general. But what I want you to take from it is, and a lot of people use heads as a way of measuring, you know, like a heroic body is so many heads, a regular body is so many heads. In this day and age, though, I think it's more important to see what kind of style works consistently with what you're doing, because it's not really that simple anymore. It's not really a certain style is a comic book style, because we've got things like indie comics and web comics and things like that that don't necessarily have anything to do with the classical heroic style from someone like Marvel or DC, which are not as important as they used to be. So right now it's more important that you actually go and get a good idea of what works for you in terms of anatomy, posing, and consistency. So let's do a new canvas. I'll get rid of this old one, and I'm going to use my rough pencil here. So what I generally do when I'm doing anatomy is I do a line first. Let's say I'm doing a real action pose. Let's just jump in. I'm doing an action pose here. So with my pencil, I've done this line. What does this line signify? It signifies in my mind a sort of a central revolving point for the pose. So I can do some sketching here, and this is going to be very rough because this is just a simple tutorial. But yeah, I've got a basic head. You've got the neck. You want to put in the shoulders here somewhere. Here, do a circle for your joints here. So we've got the shoulders. Let's do the person reaching up. Do a little foreshortening there with some fingers. Then let's do the same with the other arm. Not quite so much foreshortening, but some, because foreshortening is really important. Foreshortening is the practice of making something three-dimensional, essentially. Because when things come towards the viewer, they appear that they're shorter, when in actuality it's just that everything, you can basically think of everything as being based on fundamental shapes, and those shapes look different depending on how you look at them. Like if you have let's say a bottle of hand sanitizer like I do on my desk, you can pick up that bottle and you can look at it. You can turn it towards you, you can turn it away from you, you can turn it to its side or to its front. It looks different in every angle that you look at it from. To sort of have an example here, let's do the hips like this. We're going to have this guy do a real action pose. So for that, you'll need to do something like this. The foot will be much larger, and in fact you can compare it to the head in terms of size because it's closer. But this foot will not be nearly as big because it's much further away from us. This is just a simple pose. This is the kind of thing that I like to do when I'm doing my basic roughs. I'll do a pose like this, and doing the joints really helps get an idea of where things are going to be realistically bending, and it gives you landmarks to work from when you're working on anatomy. So I think it's really helpful and useful to do little circles. You don't have to do them this big. I did them a bit bigger than I usually do because this is supposed to be a demonstration. But I would say try and do at least a little bit bigger for major joints like the hips, the shoulders, things like that, because it will get it in your mind that these are landmarks that you can work from. These are things that will actually help you in terms of where your anatomy lies when you're doing a character. So let's do another one. I'll do something simpler this time because I wanted to start off with something more complex to show you how easy it can really be as long as you have landmarks. But let's draw someone just sort of hanging out. So you have the head, as before. You work down to the shoulders. You have a basic torso shape. You can even do what I'm doing here and cut off that torso right around the navel. Then you have a little bit going down to the hips. And as said before, draw the hips. This guy's got one that's slightly lower than the other, but that's actually kind of natural. Usually when people stand casually, one hip is kind of lower than the other. It's a good casual pose. The elbows tend to come about around your solar plexus, which is around middle here. These are going to be the pectorals. So somewhere around in this range will be where elbows tend to lie. The rest of the arm comes down here. You have the wrist around here. Fingers tend to extend to somewhere on the upper thigh. You have the crotch about here, then you have your knees about here, and it seems like I'm actually going to run out of space because I poorly considered my space here. Fortunately, with Clip Studio Paint, it's very easy to fix that. So I'm just going to shrink this a little bit. I'm clearly in big mode because I'm doing the demonstrations, but let's just take this a little bit lower. You've got your shins here. And then you've got your feet, which are probably going to be slightly like rounded triangles since you're viewing them from the forward. But yeah, just look at something like that. Somewhere around the bottom-ish of the hips, you want to start looking at the wrists. You can put the stick fingers here. You can develop all of these, and it's not very difficult to develop all of these. I'll cover that in a later video. But essentially what you're looking at here is proportions. You can look at the different proportions of a single head and put like half a head here, and head here, and head here, and head here. You can look at that and get your figures from that, or you can just look at body landmarks. And when you're doing a body, a lot of people like to start off with something like this, and it's great to do something like that because this is an average body type. The athletic body type tends to be easier for people to draw, which is why they do it, because it has a lot of surface anatomy landmarks. People that don't have that kind of muscular definition are less common to see, in large part because people get used to drawing that, and they get used to finding those landmarks. People that are chubby or overweight, people that are shorter than usual, children too, a lot of variations from the average adult is like hard mode to most artists. And it's unfortunate because that means we see less varied and interesting characters. You get a lot of the comic book stereotype or the Greek statue stereotype, which isn't bad in and of itself. It's just to say that it can be kind of a crutch at times. When you're an artist, you have to kind of mix it up a bit. So it's good to learn from things like this average build, this average character, and indeed the body type dolls here are basically kind of average size, if you look at that. But that's not to say it's a bad thing. You don't have to worry about that. But as you go, I would like to encourage you to try and diversify with body types. Again, I'll go into that later in some later videos. I wanted to keep this simple and give you a good foundation to work from. You can draw a stickman. Everybody can draw a stickman. It's very easy to do. Mix it up with your shapes, and you can have a great foundation from which to work. Don't neglect the importance of a sketch. Sketches are so helpful. Sketches are a great basis to draw from. You can do something like this, which is actually kind of daring. It's an exciting sort of pose. And of course, as you do it, as you flesh it out, you will find yourself obscuring certain details, which is more than natural. Some details will be hidden by others as you get going on them. Like, for example, this dude with his hand. His hand may or may not be covered by dramatic hair flowing up from the head. Your choice, your call. He may be wearing a hat. And incidentally, this is a great way to figure out how hats fit a head. So you can do something very easy and very quick like that can help hats actually look right. Hats are kind of difficult for a lot of people because they don't take this fundamental sort of approach. And I just made a stray mark there that's going to bother me, so I'm going to erase that. But anyway, so you have this sort of wonderful basis, which is the stickman. Stickmen, we've drawn these all our lives. Anybody can draw a stickman, and from that, you've got an excellent foundation for figure drawing. I'm Hushicho. Please follow me on social media, subscribe to my channel here, and please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. I will see you more soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.